I competed on Olympic Games, and after that I was approached by Red Bull. I did always know that I want to be an entrepreneur, had a product that we felt is different and unique. It didn't really work as well as we hoped, so we continued looking for unique products, and then Japes Pizza showed up. As soon as we started, it started growing very, very quickly. Hospitality for me, it just felt that it's a very big industry. There are still gaps which, if you fill, you could have a very good results. I never mind asking people for advice, and sure. I know that I'm not the best person in the world to do this job, and I just need to be the best version that I can be. Have your goals clear, work hard towards them. If you can improve, improve. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but never give up easily.
Our eating habits are changing. We're demanding better dining experiences, and the food market has never been so competitive. Starting and succeeding with a food business is challenging, but some determined and passionate entrepreneurs are flourishing. These people have big dreams, big passion, and big drive. They are disruptors, change makers, and innovators. They see a positive future. Many say that food business is too risky. Some say that it has huge rewards. Are you up for the challenge?
In today's episode, I sat down with Alex Aleksic from Japes, a deep pizza concept in central London. Alex is a former athlete and actually competed in the London 2012 Olympics. And it's really interesting that throughout this conversation, that positive sporting mindset of learning from your failures and constantly iterating to really achieve your vision, and that competitive spirit is so clear in Alex's approach. It's really interesting also that analytical side of him and analyzing data from the market in terms of consumer reaction, benchmarks in the market in terms of competitor restaurants, and just again that constant iteration of the concept. He's done really, really well with Japes so far, and he's putting the building blocks in place of the foundations of something that really can grow in a mass market space. Really interesting conversation. Sit back, enjoy. Alex Aleksic. So first off, just say congratulations, Alex.
Thank you.
Exciting times to you. Recently married.
Yes.
So not only business partner, but life partner.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm sure it was a nice kind of exit out of COVID to an extent.
Yeah.
Nice experience.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I mean, when the situation is like this in the world, then you need to appreciate those things that, in this case, they were not really small. I mean, wedding is a very big thing, but everything that you can appreciate is always welcome. Yeah. And especially for us, we were able to organize everything without any later problems. There were no cases or anything. I mean, the wedding wasn't too big. It was 50 people, obviously because of COVID. Yeah. But it was beautiful. For me, good. I'm very happy. Thank you for starting with this.
No worries. Great. So let's go while we're on that topic. You met Giovanna when she was working at Red Bull. You were an athlete sponsored by Red Bull. Tell us about that kind of time, I guess, in your lives and what you were doing, and
so we are both from Serbia originally. So we came to the UK about 5 years ago. That's correct. I was a Red Bull's athlete. I trained kayak on still water. So I did have some very good results, to be honest. I competed on Olympic Games, and after that I was approached by Red Bull. Giovanna, who is my wife now, she was in Red Bull's marketing department, so we didn't meet at that exact moment when I was approached. But yeah, I mean, Red Bull is a great company, very well organized, so I quickly met the team. Also, team in Serbia is not very big. But yeah, I mean, we didn't start our relationship immediately, but we found that we have many things in common, and as we were meeting each other more and more, we saw that some emotions started developing,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah, we always felt ambition to succeed in life, and as someone who, at least in sports, always had the equal playing field, regardless of the country where you are. You had the same start, you had the same finish. I didn't really like the fact that my country of origin is less developed and giving me fewer opportunities. I'm not saying there was anything bad. I liked my life in Serbia. It's just I felt that if I give everything I have in a better market, I could get better results. And yeah, we started thinking about alternatives. I came here to London Business School for a master's in management, and after that, London Business School basically sponsored my visa, helped Giovanna come here as well, and we started Japes.
Okay, so were you at that stage thinking about business? Like even when you were an athlete, you were thinking about launching your own venture?
To be fair, yes. Not really. I mean, not necessarily a restaurant itself,
Yeah.
or food business in general. But I did always know that I want to be entrepreneur and that I want to create a company. I was inspired by my father, who was quite successful, and he's one of the reasons why I had funds to come to the UK in the first place. So I did know that it's a right way for me. So. I just wasn't sure what exactly am I going to do. I like IT as well, but yeah, we ultimately decided to start this, and so far we are quite happy.
Okay, and you mentioned your father being in business and obviously supporting you financially, which is a great boost. But do you think you also got a mindset or an approach from him as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, even as a child, when I didn't really understand the finances, I mean, when you are 6 or 7 years old, you don't really know how much something costs, or you don't care. But yeah, I mean, just seeing someone who is creating new employment, and when people meet him on the street and everything, we lived in a small community. Yeah. So you know, it's not necessarily the money. It's more about how I feel and creating a better future.
Sure, makes sense. And certainly from my experience working with athletes and people in that sports arena in general, they always seem to have such a positive mindset, and also the competitiveness I think also helps in business, and the determination, just persistence to achieve a goal almost. Yeah. Do you feel that, and you feel it's kind of helped your business now?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that as an athlete you basically learn that you need to improve yourself all the time. And you also need to appreciate the feedback, because feedback is what helps you grow. And that's among other reasons why I like working with you, because you have more experience, you can give me good advice. And I appreciate all the opportunities where I can improve. And definitely having a sports background, you very quickly see that if you don't listen to your coach, you get worse results in race. Yeah. So it's very clear, and it teaches you a lot of things. Business can be a bit different. People spend a lot of time looking for excuses. There are some people who spend years doing the wrong things and never accepting that they're doing the wrong things. Whereas I believe that, at least for me, when I see something not working, I never have a problem to say, well, we failed, this didn't work, but let's see which part of it maybe have potential for future, and let's focus on that. Exactly. So don't lose your time. I mean, you need to do the right things, and you cannot be stubborn, and you need to leave your ego behind. Sure.
And you're just maintaining that focus on the end goal essentially as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So failure is kind of part of the process, as long as you're going towards that goal.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in both short-term goals and long-term goals. So both of them have pros and cons. Obviously, long-term goals can seem like you're never going to achieve it; that they're too far. Yeah. Whereas short-term goals, they might not be as motivating as the long-term goals. But at the end of the day, it's all a part of process, and taking it day by day.
Sure, makes sense. And I know, I guess it was in and around when you were an athlete, and just after, you worked in a few different other roles. So was it consulting and a few different things?
Yes.
And pharmaceutical. distribution industry?
Yeah, I mean, I worked at KPMG in Serbia, and I was part of advisory department.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was involved in some projects that did have those the things that you mentioned for pharmaceutical industries. We also had some other consultancies. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I did have some knowledge of other industries based on my experience from KPMG.
Okay. And what was your reason for, I know you changed a few different jobs. Yeah. Was it to kind of just learn about employment or different industries? Because I know you wanted to have your own venture. So why not start something straight away? Why get that experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. To be fair, it's more about maybe trying to reduce risk later, in a sense that if you go through consulting industry, you can learn some things while not losing your own money. But then I also realized that it's not too applicable, in a sense that you're just working on a completely different scale compared to a startup. And if I take example of someone who is really successful in pizza industry, if I take example of Domino's, they're doing amazing things, but many of those things are hard to copy on a single unit. Obviously, you cannot have a central kitchen if you have one unit if you're starting. And supply chain is different, everything is different. So I quickly realized that it might not be as rewarding as I was hoping, in a sense that yes, I learn a lot, but I can't really take that when I start. So I had my reasons, and I feel that I left in the right time. Let's say I didn't spend too much time there.
Okay, makes sense. And then when you left, did you have Japes and that vision for the concept clearly in mind, or was it leave to then develop the concept, or how does that work?
So I left before coming to London Business School, and Japes basically came up as idea during my studies here. Okay. So I can't really say that at the moment of leaving I already had a clear plan. It was more I'm leaving because I'm going to university to study for a master's degree, and then we will see what happens. And Japes, it came more as an opportunity, something that we saw is not currently present in UK restaurants industry. And we didn't originally start exactly as it is now, but we also had a product that we felt is different and unique. It didn't really work as well as we hoped, so we continued looking for unique products, and then Deep Dish Pizza showed up.
What was the product that didn't quite work?
We tried with high quality waffles and pancakes. So it was the type of product where you would have truffles on pancakes, or where you would have a steak or something like that. So it works in other countries. It wasn't like we were the first one to invent it in the world. There are other waffle and pancake restaurants, obviously, in London and in UK. There is My Old Dutch, there is Creams Cafe, Caspas, and others, which are doing good job. But we were different than them. We were more on a high level of ingredients and generally higher price range. But yeah, it didn't work as we hoped. So we then we didn't spend too much time there. As I mentioned, we left our ego at home and said we need to find something new. Okay.
And did you launch a site for that, or was it testing kind of at a lower level?
Yeah, so we went all in, which was quite stressful. I wouldn't recommend it now, looking back to how it all went, because although it worked quite well and I'm very happy now, I still feel that I'm sometimes thinking about how difficult the start was and how big expenses were, and it might influence my future decisions. So although I'm trying obviously to leave everything behind and to look only for what's currently happening and how we can grow, you can never completely get rid of your past experiences.
Sure.
So I feel that it ended up well. I don't know what would be alternative. I mean, we'll never know if there was a better way or not. It just happened this way. But yeah, I would probably recommend starting on a lower investment than what we started with.
But I guess you pivoted quite quickly. So you learned, and you, like you said at the beginning, you took the failings, you learned from it, and then you changed, and then you moved on from that point.
Yes.
And I guess it was kind of after seeing that it didn't work in a smaller market, so it was quite a niche product obviously,
Yeah.
then you went the opposite almost, and you went
Yeah.
mass market with pizza.
Yeah.
Is that how it worked?
Yeah, it is. Basically, that's the essence of it. We didn't transition on one day completely, let's say 100% of product offering. My thinking was, okay, I believe that we have a good product with waffles and pancakes. It's just that it's too new for the market, and people, they don't understand why you would put truffles on savory pancakes. So I was thinking for reasons, how can we bring groups inside, and how can we give more reasons to come into the restaurant. And then I was thinking, okay, if we introduce pizza, then let's say a group of 8 people will come inside. 1 or 2 of them will order maybe waffle or pancake, and then other 6 people will see how it looks and try it, and they will come back. So that was my original thought. But then obviously I didn't really want to start one more pizza restaurant. I feel that there are already a lot of very good ones in the UK market. We are quite close to Pizza Pilgrims, to Franco Manca, and others that are doing a very good job. Yeah. So it was like, okay, let's try to find different type of pizza. We found deep dish, and as soon as we approached it very professionally. We spent some time perfecting the recipes and working on it before we launched. But when we did, people immediately started speaking about it. We were aware that there was some internet, like there were questions asked, why is there no deep dish in London or something, but we were not really thinking that it's that big. But as soon as we started, it started growing very, very quickly. And we ended up not having enough space to make waffles and pancakes anymore. We had to buy bigger ovens.
Okay, very good.
For pizza.
And why did you choose hospitality in the first place? Or were you looking at other sectors to launch a business, or was it always going to be hospitality?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about other industries as well, to be fair. Especially as someone who is coming from a less developed country, you always have opportunities to import goods at a lower price, especially those that take a lot of labor. So, for example, our interior, when we opened the restaurant, it was maybe 1/4 of a price what we would pay in the UK. So there were other options, but hospitality for me, it felt. It just felt that it's a very big industry where there are still gaps which, if you fill, you could have a very good results, and if you do things properly. So I felt that there are still too many restaurants where people just don't care enough, and that's why you are creating opportunities to grow for successful businesses, some of which I mentioned already. So I hope that we can be one of those successful businesses as well. Also, while I was studying at London Business School, I saw that 90% of my friends were thinking about banking industry or consulting. So I just felt that if everyone is going in that direction, maybe there are other opportunities. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm not saying that this business is easy. It's obviously not. Yeah. But that being said, I don't really think any business is easy. Just like all sports are quite tough. Yeah. So I never really put into perspective, is this easier or harder than something else. I just felt that maybe if we are unique and if we do things well, that we can succeed. Okay. And that was the reasoning. Okay,
makes sense. So then tell us about the development of the concept. You mentioned obviously researching the market and the competitors there and finding something different. Yeah. But how then did you put flesh to the bones and start developing the recipes for the pizzas and so on?
Well, I mean, we worked with professional chefs. Okay. That's one part of it. For the ingredients that are, let's say, more common, for example, tomato sauce. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I personally didn't have much experience in this industry. I did work in a restaurant kitchen for a few months just to see how it all works before we launched the Japes. But that was not really a high-level job or anything. I really wanted to see how it works behind the scenes. Yeah. So I just like in sports, I realized that I need a strong team. So speaking about those more common products, we hired professional chefs, and then for deep dish pizza, we also had some help from people from Red Bull.
Okay.
Just because deep dish pizza generally takes a lot of time to bake. That's, I believe, the main reason why why it doesn't have a bigger influence in the world. It's just very slow. So overall, it takes, in Chicago, if you go to famous pizza places, it will take 35-40 minutes to prepare, whereas we can make it in 7 minutes. So in order to achieve that, we also had experience. We also spoke with some people who have like food products experience and who could help us create better products.
Okay.
Not necessarily chefs.
Okay. And that Red Bull input, was that like on the F1 side to get the speed, or how did that work? What do they do exactly?
Well, I mean, okay, so it works like this. I went to Austria, to their headquarters, to their, it's called training center.
Okay.
And basically, when there are multiple versions of contracts with Red Bull. There is like national level, for which you don't need to go to Austria, and then there is international athlete, which I was aiming for, and what I got at the end. But for that, you need to go to Austria, and you need to speak with their psychologists and with their people from their team, and you also get access to best in the world machinery and sensors and everything. So they scan your body, they tell you what are your weak points. It's very, very smart, obviously. So when I was in Austria, Red Bull just feels like a community, and it's very nice. So I met a lot of people, and some of them were from their food side of the business. Obviously, you have marketing, you have whatever supply chain. But yeah, so I met some people from that part, and yeah, I mean, they were willing to help. It's not like they had any issues with it. Just telling me. I mean, probably someone from other larger companies could do the same. Someone who has experience with food and that.
But this was mainly because of your previous relationship with
Red Bull.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I met them through the Red Bull.
And your van, obviously, as
well.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And what did they do?
There are, sorry to interrupt. There are other people from Red Bull who also started some other food businesses and had support. So we are not the only ones.
Okay, very good. And what do they do? I don't mean specifically to give away your trade secrets, but what generally were they working on to enhance?
I mean, okay. So without going into too many specifics, basically, my understanding is if you create more space within like the molecules or particles in any material, then the heat can go through it. Basically, you are creating micro gaps that allow heat to go through. So yeah, I believe our dough just have a bit more gaps than it would usually have, and it can transfer heat energy quicker throughout itself. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And again, it's kind of feeding throughout this conversation. I think it's almost seeing problems or issues or failures and finding a solution for it and continuing to kind of progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I know we spoke previously about the operational efficiencies, and in particular the kitchen, not only in the product itself, but just general operations and people and so on. Was that a big focus from the beginning, or something you learned as you went along?
Well, a bit of both. Okay. In a sense, obviously, for every business to succeed, and if by succeeding we mean being sustainable, and being sustainable means having profits, so you can continue working. Basically, we have two sides: it's revenues and costs. And many people focus on revenues, but forget about costs, and that's a big trap. So yeah, I mean, we did come into the industry knowing that obviously we will need to think about costs a lot. But that being said, it's not like we started on a day one and we had it all figured out. I was inspired by some other restaurant places and restaurant chains who were able to organize their menu offering so they can achieve huge effectiveness and efficiencies. Yeah. I mean, many come to mind, but for example, Five Guys, or even on a local level, for example, Flatiron, and they're offering of only more or less one type of meal. Sometimes they have some other offerings, but you know, if you have only one type of meal, and if two of us come inside, you more or less know that we are going to order two steaks, right? Yeah. So you can start preparing everything in advance, and you can optimize everything. So with all that in mind, we did start experiments apart from pizza, but we always kept in focus, okay, is it going to take us too much time to do this, and are we going to lose our focus? So we did try having pasta, for example, in our menu, but we just felt that it's not really contributing a lot to revenues, and you need to have complete different section in kitchen and everything. So overall, we are just looking always into that perspective of, okay, is this going to be scalable? Is it going to be effective? And yes, at the moment we can achieve very good results. On Saturdays we can host more than 500 people with four employees in kitchen and one kitchen porter. So basically,
that's phenomenal.
It is
and
very,
compared to
very
industry
good.
standards, that's like amazing.
It is. I mean, I'm very happy of what we achieved.
Sure. Okay, so there's obviously that operational efficiency, scalability, simplicity side of it.
Yes.
I guess then you're also looking at the market in terms of, will this sell?
Yeah.
So there's one thing getting things that are quick to kind of operate and produce.
Yeah.
But were you then benchmarking against, let's say, Franco Manca or other pizza operators?
Yeah.
Or how did that chef and menu development process happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you cannot really know until you try expanding more. So at this moment, I would be foolish to say, well, we solved the market and we know that we can open, I don't know, 100 Japes restaurants in the UK or 400 like Nando's has. Obviously, that you cannot know that. What generally happens and what I do like about the feedback that we get is that many people put us in directly in a pizza category. So they don't really say, well, you are a great deep dish pizza. People say you are great pizza, or I didn't like your pizza on the other hand, but in general they say pizza. They don't say deep dish pizza. So
which is very important.
I believe it is. I believe it
element.
is because exactly, as you pointed out, if that's true, and it's still to be proven, but I'm hoping it's true, then we are basically part of pizza category and not a niche product.
Yes.
So for as long as we have one restaurant, I can hope it's true. We have hopes of expansion, and we are working on it.
Yeah.
So I guess we will find out. But definitely, so far feedback is more that people just see us as a pizza. It's not as deep dish pizza, which has good and bad sides, but that's another topic.
Okay. And then when you're developing the menu, are you choosing kind of mainstream toppings as well? And obviously there's a lot of cheese involved, which is a benefit obviously, but you're looking at pepperoni and kind of standard toppings as well. Yeah,
I mean, we generally don't push it too far with other toppings. Yep. I don't really think that we have any particular pizza combination that is unusual for the UK market on that perspective. Yeah. But we do think a lot about every topping that we are going to include in our menu, and most of the times it starts as a food that our chefs make for themselves and for other team members, because although you have free food in our restaurant, if you're working there, you're not going to eat like 8 pizzas that we have on menu on 11, or it doesn't matter. It depends on if you're vegetarian or you eat everything. Yeah. But if you work with us for 2 years, and many people already have 2 years with us, obviously you're going to start experimenting and making your staff meals different. Yeah. So it generally starts like that, and then we get feedback from all other staff members, which already creates like 15 people that tell us what they think, and that's how we start. Then we put it in our menu and we monitor closely, and we then decide what to do. Okay, makes sense.
So let's talk about your location then. You're obviously prime, big site in the middle of Soho, central London. Yeah. Tell us about the thinking behind securing that site. And why go so big and so prime? I guess it was back to your story about the waffles as well.
Again, speaking with many people from this industry, not trying to come up with conclusions myself, we got a lot of feedback that would tell us to go the best site that we can find. Okay. I spoke with people from Pizza Pilgrims, with people from Dish Room, from Pizza Express as well. So all of them I'm mentioning because I respect them and because they provided valuable information to me. So it's only positive words.
I think, sorry to interrupt, I think that's a really key point, because a lot of people in my experience at least, don't reach out to people.
Yeah.
They feel a bit nervous about reaching out, especially to competitors, or direct competitors as they are now.
Yeah.
How did you do that practically? Was it through LinkedIn or something? And what was the feedback then when you did reach out to them?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so one that I mentioned basically for Pizza Pilgrims, there was some app or something that organized like dinners with the people from various industries, and then we saw that Tom from Pizza Pilgrims is having a dinner with people. So me and Giovanna, we bought tickets, met him there. And for people from Dishum and from Pizza Express, it's through London Business School. So founder of Dishum, one of them, he is a part of London Business School's investor program. So he basically can invest in startups that pitch at London Business School, which we did, but he didn't invest.
Okay.
And then Pizza Express the same through people from London Business School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you went and you obviously sought out these people and sought out the contacts to.
I mean, I never mind asking people for advice, and I know that I'm not the best person in the world to do this job, and I just need to be the best version that I can be.
Sure.
And in order to do that, I need to listen to advice of successful people.
Okay.
It was the same in sports. I mean, I didn't win Olympic Games, but if I didn't have the approach to look for improvements, I wouldn't be competing with them.
Having that open mind.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's fine if someone is better, but let's see how we can get the best out of ourselves.
Sure, makes sense. And you're surrounding yourself with people who do know and have the experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've taken that advice to get a prime location.
Yeah.
How did you actually secure such a prime site?
Well, that's a tough story. Basically, me and Giovanna, we reached out to a number of agents, and David Tubian, who back then worked for Stephen and Matthews, he is now independent. He has his own company. Yeah. He was basically the only one who wanted to see us. I guess when you have two people coming from Serbia and just shooting out of nowhere, sending you emails, you don't really take care. But yeah, so David did meet with us, and he started looking. So he found us this location. Also, we were a bit lucky. Pizza Express at that time, they owned Firenze, which was operating in the unit that we bought. And I mean, they wanted to go out. I believe they were testing a new concept. It didn't work. They didn't want to bother with it anymore. So for some reason they were quite open to getting us in. Later we found out that their results in this unit were quite bad. Okay. I mean, we received their bank statements for months. They didn't bother canceling them. Yeah, I mean, so we literally saw how much they were doing, and I understand why they wanted to. Was this
before you signed the lease or after?
Well, both basically. So when we did the contract exchange, we had like 2 months until we get until we paid the whole amount and got the keys, and then after we got the keys, there was some renovation period. Okay. But statements that kept arriving for months, literally.
Okay, but before you signed a lease, you had some visibility into the failings of another pizza concept?
No, before no. Okay. No. I mean, I was told by some people that it's a tricky location without Crossrail, but we were hoping that Crossrail will open, which didn't happen. Yeah. But who knows why it's good? Maybe we wouldn't be having deep dish pizza now if everything went easier at the start. Yeah. So I'm not worried about that. It will open, but I believe that at that stage it was more like current restaurant Firenze is doing very bad, but when Crossrails open, it's gonna be fine. So that was kind of the thinking, and why we didn't really see it as a red flag at that time. Okay.
And now looking at the location now, and obviously the restaurant's doing very well at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you put that down to, because in my mind, yes, you're in the main big category of pizza, but you are different enough, so you almost become a bit of a destination to a good extent without being niche.
Yeah.
So you're kind of mainstream destination, if that makes sense. So people will walk a little bit to get to you.
Yeah.
So is that how you see it, or?
Absolutely, and I do believe that we have solid evidence for believing this way. So we more than 60%, even 70% people on weekend make a booking with us. So that means that when someone, let's say it's I don't know, Wednesday morning, when they wake up, they already know that on Wednesday evening they're going to Japes. So I don't think that we are having significant boost from the location itself, just because, as you mentioned, we do think that we are destinational in the sense that people see us as a final destination and the reason why they leave their home. So yeah, I'm confident that we don't need to get such prime locations in future, just because we have a strong customer base, and while we were on Open Table, we had 94% recommendation rate. It was quite good, and business is growing organically. We don't spend almost any amount on marketing. And we just take that money to improve products, and then people appreciate it. So we don't have branded boxes, for example. That's extra 15 pence that we would rather invest in pizza. And I mean, we feel that people will come to Japes regardless of where we are. So that's a good point to know.
Makes sense. I think it's the ideal positioning, really. So your mass market, destination mass market, which is like, it's perfect, really.
Thank you.
So then in terms of the opening process, so obviously your first restaurant that you've launched yourself, obviously you have people around you who can advise you. How was that process? I'm sure it was daunting and quite a large scale project. How did you get through that, and how did you find it?
I mean, it was very stressful, to be fair, and that's probably when I worked more hours than what I work now. And when I say that time, I mean literally the restaurant renovation and opening, not necessarily when we started trading, although we did work at that time as well. But at that point, you already know that you did what you could have done to start the business, and now the business is officially starting. But that period before it starts, that it was quite hard. But yeah, I mean, no complaints. It's hard for everyone, and there is reason why not many people decide to go on this journey. So it's fine.
The harder it is, the less people will do it.
Exactly. And it might not mean that you're doing the right thing, but if you decide to do something, then don't complain. Then at least see how it goes. And did you like have a full team of designers and contractors and go full out, or did you kind of keep the cost low at that stage? Well, we did have a full team, and we did keep the cost down because the team was from Serbia. So although they're paid quite well for Serbian standards, it's much cheaper than going through the UK teams. So yeah, I mean, our architects, our interior developers, everything was basically. To be honest, it was also safer for me. It's not like we were only thinking about costs, which obviously is a huge part of it, but also, you know, coming from a country and you know that you have a team that designed 5 out of top 10 Serbian restaurants, it gives credibility, obviously. And I met those people earlier through other jobs that I had. Then also there is a person who is making interiors for cinemas. So obviously he can make a small restaurant, right? If he's making like cinemas, like in on Balkan area. So you know, we had enough confidence that the team is fine. They're not like some people that we just found on the street. Whereas obviously because they are in less developed country, it's cost a lower cost as well. So I think that from that perspective it was win-win. Although I have to say that it is important to know the exact market where you are. So although they did a perfect job from perspective of Serbia, we did have a lot of things that should have been done differently in the UK. For example, our interior, it looked maybe too expensive for the product that we were offering. So although we did want to make premium products from a first day, we just created this atmosphere that they necessarily need to be really, really expensive. And then when we set kind of reasonable prices, people would start thinking, well, maybe portions are small, maybe I need to order 3 of these pancakes or whatever. So yeah, I feel like we didn't have enough experience for the UK, but overall it wasn't too bad. Yeah,
but it makes sense. But I've seen that issue in London-based like UK designers as well. I think it's quite a common thing to kind of over-design or over-specify design. So.
Exactly. I mean, you don't need to be a magician to see how, I don't know, Pizza Pilgrims or Honest Burger are doing it, and they're doing very well. So obviously you can try to have different variations, but for this type of food you don't really need to spend too much.
Okay. And on the brand and interior design side, did you guys kind of have a vision in your head, or did you hand it all over to the designers and let them lead it?
It was a mutual work. Okay. We only had one condition, that name must be available for trademark. Okay. So Japes, we were able to secure trademark for the UK, for the EU, US, and some other markets that we are thinking about. So that was the only thing that we were not ready to let go. It had to be free. Okay. Other than that, we were quite open with everything. And at this moment, I'm happy that we didn't start with more specific name, because it would probably be like waffles or pancakes, something. Yeah. Whereas we ended up focusing on pizza. But I feel that name itself is it goes with the business. It's not maybe perfect for one location. In a sense, when you are smaller, it's better to be obvious with what you are doing. Yeah. But then as you grow, I mean, and as people learn, there are many successful brands that don't have product in their names. So I guess time will tell. And again, it's one of those things where you never know what could have or would have happened if it was different. So we started with Japes. We know it was working. If it had different name, I don't know what would happen. Sure.
And Japes, just to be clear, obviously means kind of like a blag or a joke or
exactly.
a jibe.
Yeah.
And I guess that fits in nicely to pizza and the experience, even knowing your experience is kind of fun and casual and so on. Yeah. So it does fit quite well.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And I know Jovana and yourself, you're very hands-on even at this stage now, successful restaurant looking to grow. Yeah. Do you split your roles consciously and structurally at this stage, or have they changed over time, or how does that work between both of you?
Yeah, well,
now that you're married, obviously it does change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have like unofficial roles, in a sense that I'll look more maybe into financial points. She will look more into HR, but that's unofficial, in a sense that we overlap most of our decisions. We speak with each other. I feel that she is absolutely equal to me, with knowledge, with capabilities, with time that she invests. And if I'm thinking of something, she's gonna be the first one to find out, and she'll be the first one to give feedback, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So I just feel that, emotions aside, we are in business. We are working as a team that wants to succeed. We both see this as very important factor of our future, and
you both have the same vision as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we left our home country for the same reasons, and we left it together. So overall, it's more working as a team at the moment, and thinking through almost every decision. I think that when we grow, it's probably going to split a bit more, in a sense that when you have more units, obviously there are more things to consider, and you have same amount of time. So maybe we will split our positions more clearly. Okay. But at this moment, it's just an official split.
Okay, makes sense. And you mentioned you're quite structured, and I know you're quite logically thinking and like your numbers. I think it's why we get on so well as well.
Yeah, I believe so as well, absolutely.
But how do you use the data? Because I know you're quite analytical, you look at the market very closely, which I think is hugely beneficial and valuable, and will continue to be as you grow. Yeah. But tell us how you actually go about that process and how you use the data that you find.
Well, I mean, okay, so for data, basically, there are various types of data. One would be the one that we gather from the restaurant itself. Another is that we can gather from market and from competitors. So what I like to do, obviously, is I always believe that there is a reason something is happening. It's luck can be a part of it. Obviously, you need to have luck, but if you don't work hard, if you don't make the right decisions, luck is not going to save you. So I respect many businesses that are successful. I take their accounts from a company's house. I see their percentages, what they do with staffing, with food, with everything, and then when I see that someone is doing well, then I visit those restaurants and I look why this is happening. I try to go through customer journey. I try to look at both perspectives of customer and then in perspective of owners and managers, like how did they make this happen. And from perspective of restaurant Japes, obviously trying to speak with as many people as possible, looking into all the comments on various networks, and just being open to feedback. And usually when someone is the first person to report something, we will just write it down, but not necessarily take any action. In a sense, if someone comes and says pizza is a bit salty for me, obviously we're not going to change all our recipes based on that one comment. But if you can see that something is appearing again and again, then yes, we are going to react. And I specifically mentioned salty because it did happen. Like me coming from Serbia and working mostly with Serbian chefs, we eat more saltier food. So when we originally started, we did have those comments, and then we changed. So yeah, I mean that data is important. And again, you can get data from social networks about people's age and gender and everything. But to be fair, I don't really think that at this stage we can get too much benefit from that data. Obviously, when you are bigger, when you have more online sales, then fine. When you are paying more marketing for online and everything. At this stage, it's more about people who are actually in a restaurant and who just speak honestly with us. Okay,
makes sense. And again, I think it's the sporting mindset and the sporting approach coming through as well. It's the analytical and constant learning, development, and iteration forward. Yeah, makes sense. So you're benchmarking obviously against a lot of different operators in the market. How then, so if you're taking the learnings and you're kind of mimicking it to an extent or incorporating it into your concept to improve, which makes complete sense, how do you then stand out in the market? And obviously the fundamental of the concept is deep dish, so you're naturally standing out. But is there something else you do to kind of make noise in the market? Or?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. To be honest, I didn't really think about that too much, just because we, as you mentioned, we have a product that is different. So we are a bit in advantage there. I'm not going to say lucky, again, because as I mentioned, I don't really believe in luck. Also, someone can open the same restaurant tomorrow. But we just by the nature of our product, we can, and also by the fact that we still have one restaurant, which is very, very important fact. It's much easier to pivot in one unit than if you are Domino's with thousands of units around the world. So but then again, you need to be aware of that, so you need to appreciate it while you can. And we are just trying to keep our core product always intact and as good as we can possibly make it, with respect to other people's opinion. And then everything else can be modified or should be modified, and we are still learning a lot.
Okay, makes sense.
We also believe that since we are the fastest place in the world to make this type of pizza, that we could work as a QSR. I believe that our timing is not slower than Five Guys. Whenever I go to Five Guys and when I measure time until I get burger, it's usually between 9 and 12 minutes. They also give you peanuts, well, not now with COVID, but usually they give you peanuts, so you don't think about time. And if we can implement something like that, it might work. And again, only reason why I'm mentioning them is because of huge respect, nothing else.
Sure. Makes complete sense. So QSR, just to be clear, it would be a walk-in counter service operation, as opposed to currently you have table service.
Yeah, I mean,
and the reason for that is costing, I guess, and efficiencies.
Well, yes, on one hand, but there are other reasons which sometimes you don't see at the first thought. But if you don't have a table service, I believe it's not only easier to expand, but it's also easier to focus on specific thing within the restaurant. So if you don't have table service, people will think more about food itself because service is out of question. So you are never going to go to McDonald's and think if your service was good or not, because like you know there is no service. So it's out of equation completely. And especially now, when the country is going through a lot of issues with labor shortages and everything, it might be a winning concept. Also, if you look into percentage increases in prices in those restaurants that don't have table service, they are quite close to restaurants that do have table service now.
Okay.
So average spend per head in Five Guys or Shake Shack or Nando's, it's not necessarily lower than in restaurants that have full service.
Okay, makes
So
sense.
yeah, I feel that there are many pros and cons, but again, it's a decision that needs to be approached carefully.
Sure.
So it's not as simple as these last 2 minutes that I was speaking about it, but it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it could be location dependent. So if you're in a
Absolutely.
central city, maybe it could be QSR,
absolutely,
or
yeah.
neighborhood could be
Yeah.
more table service.
Absolutely.
And you have that flexibility.
Yeah.
So it gives you an extra option, essentially.
Yeah.
In terms of the brand, so obviously standing out in the market, you have the fundamentals right there in terms of the concept and the offering and your positioning, which is very advantageous, I think. How have you gone about building that brand? You have 25,000, I think, on Instagram at the moment, which is very significant, very valuable. How has that process happened?
Well, Giovanna would be the better person to speak about it, to be fair. But what I can say is, I believe that we created a win-win situation for people who are in social media and working with food, in a sense that they also wanted to have new content and different content. So, if you have, I don't know, just one more burger place, you might be working harder to get people from Instagram, like as we say, influencers, to come to your place. Whereas when Japes started, it was new for everyone, basically. And everyone wanted to have a photo of deep dish pizza and the cheese and everything. So that worked quite well. I don't really think that we ever had to pay for any of the influencers to come, even for those who are quite popular. Again, I say I don't think, because Giovanna would be the better person to answer that question. But definitely it wasn't too hard at the beginning. And
just because it was different and fresh.
I mean, it created value for them as well, that they can stand out among other food influencers. So when the first one arrived, quickly others started coming as well. But that also, I have to say that Giovanna is spending a lot of time communicating with other people, regardless of how many followers you have or how much influence you have on social media. I believe we will always respond to any comment or anyone who tags us. We will respond. We just appreciate it.
Okay. And does Giovanna do all of the content herself? She manages everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I feel that we really should appreciate every single person who comes into our restaurant. And it's when you are in Soho, there is, I don't know, 1,000 restaurants, and when someone walks through the door of Japes, it means that they made a decision, like, let's not go to other 999, let's go to this one. And then, if they had a great experience and they're very happy, then it's great for you. But if they didn't have a good experience, you need to do your best to make it up for them, because they decided to choose us and they decided to spend their money with us. So we always approach every single person that they are our friend and that they are someone who came to support us.
Yeah.
And it goes same on social media. So
Okay.
I think people appreciate it.
The authenticity, absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned the cheese. Obviously, it's a very important factor in the Instagrammability. That's a word.
Yeah.
Do you develop your product with that in mind, like getting the right level of stringiness, or is that a key factor, or not so
No,
much?
to be fair, we didn't consider it too much. The only thing that we were considering basically with cheese is what is the right amount to put, because yes, on one hand you do want to have as much cheese as possible. It creates wow factor. It's great for deep dish pizza, but then on the other hand, you also want to have nice experience with food, and you want to feel good after you leave the restaurant. So if you put like double amount of cheese, people might be happier for the Instagram photo, but then they're going to feel tired for the rest of the day. So it's more a balancing act, to be fair. But focus is primarily on food, and then Instagram just happened to work well with this amount, but it's more from people's perspective.
Fair enough. So how's the restaurant doing now? How have you kind of come out of COVID, or how are you coming out of COVID at this stage?
So to be honest, we didn't have too many issues with COVID because people from Pizza Pilgrims developed food kits that they are sending nationwide, and it's a great concept and helped many restaurants, and we should all be grateful for them for creating something so interesting. So we were also able to create our own food kits and to send them by DHL nationwide. We still send them, to be honest. It's creating extra sales, although not at the level obviously that was during COVID. So that part went well, and then
so that kept you going during
COVID.
Kept us covered going. Your costs.
Almost all of them. Obviously, I mean, government helped with the furlough. So with those food kits, it was mostly me and Joanna basically working. I mean, we didn't really feel need to get too much help. We did have help from time to time. But yeah, I mean, government helped with that. Business rates, obviously, relief was great. Furlough was great. So overall, again, I'm speaking as someone who has experience at my home country. Serbia didn't have enough money. It's not about if you want to or not. You just don't have money. So my friends who have restaurants in other places, they had much more issues. So me complaining, it wouldn't really be fair. We can speak about could the government do more or less, but to be fair, we shouldn't complain. But yeah, I mean, after that, we were positively surprised how quickly people returned. And again, it's yet to be proven. Is it because we are a single unit? If we had 10 Japes restaurants, maybe it wouldn't be on per restaurant basis. It wouldn't be so great. But for us, we started trading well immediately. And when I say trading well, I don't mean taking into account like VAT relief or anything like that. We literally had more covers than we had before, and we had higher spend per head in gross terms, so VAT included as well in more than before. So putting all the benefits aside, we grew as well.
Very positive, very positive. And have you noticed, and obviously there's a big bounce back as you say, but have you noticed any other changes in the market or consumers' habits? Like obviously deliveries were huge during COVID. Has that continued in the market, do you see, or have you noticed any other changes at all?
Well, I mean, the one that I had a feeling was happening is we felt that people are a bit more nervous when they started coming back. So
nervous in terms of eating with people, or
well, I mean, nervous in general, but it's very hard. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know why, but you can just see that someone doesn't feel as comfortable as before. So was it the fact that they just got used to being alone, or was it the fact that they don't feel safe in general? I don't really know, but I did have a feeling that people are more nervous than
So it's kind of like an anxiety, or
yeah,
social anxiety.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
But then I don't know the reasons, and I don't have any particular cases. It's like us at Japes, we never had to call police or anything. Like we are just not that type of place. I'm just saying in general, like you can see that people are not as comfortable as before.
Sure.
But other than that, I mean, not so many changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And in terms of staffing, obviously big issue in the industry at the moment. You obviously mentioned anxiety and nervousness of consumers, but surely it's impacting staff as well, after being furloughed for a year essentially, or longer even.
Yeah.
How has that been for you, I guess, during COVID and coming out of COVID, and how is it now?
Well, to be honest, it's quite tough.
Yeah.
Quite tough. There is no other words or no easy way to put it. It's tough.
Yeah.
So you end up in a situation where people who decided to stay, they're almost victims of new employees, in a sense that new employees are just. And now I'm speaking in general terms. We had some amazing people who came. We had some not so amazing people who came. But in general terms, it's not as good as it was before. It's different type of people, in a sense that before there were people who are willing, who know what this industry is and they want to work in this industry. Now it's more about people who come to work on their first job and then it's not something that they liked.
Sure.
And then for some reason, I think people stopped respecting notice periods at all. They just feel like they're doing you a favor, which I mean, it's a business relation. It works both ways, right? But I mean, we as a company, we would always respect notice periods, so maybe you should as well. So, I personally, I feel a bit sorry that staff who is here for a longer time now needs to go through all of this as well. For us as entrepreneurs, I mean, it's fine. It's just one of new challenges. Like 1 year it's this, another year it's that. You just go through it. But for people who work very hard and get salary for it, it's hard because the team is not as good as it was before.
Sure.
So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And what kind of initiatives or solutions are you working on for that? Is it more kind of internal in terms of culture and pay and conditions and so on, or?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, the salaries went generally up.
Okay.
To be honest, our conditions were quite good even before. There is no like super late work in restaurant. It's not like a bar or nightclub. People have enough time to rest. I mean, it's not one of the worst places to be in our industry. There are tougher places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, salaries had to increase, and both me and Giovanna, I mean, we are there more or less every day. We were there almost every day before COVID as well, so that didn't change. But the fact that new people can speak directly with owners and everything, I think it's good for them. Although it's not necessarily good for the team itself, because it kind of ruins the structure, and they maybe respect managers a bit less if they can just go straight to the owner.
Sure.
But that's some of the things that we are working on.
Sure, I'm sure there's more pros than cons, I think, for that. More benefits.
I believe so as well. I mean, if I was employed by another place, obviously I would like to have direct access to everyone, and especially with me and Giovanna, we are really trying to listen to all feedback from everyone, regardless of is it guest or employee or person walking by. We just that's the type of people we are.
Sure.
So for new employees, whatever they feel, they can always tell us.
Okay.
But yeah, that doesn't change the fact that industry is in crisis now with staff.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, your QSR model, it's really beneficial in that aspect.
I believe so. Yeah. I believe that it has it's easier not only to operate but also to franchise, and there are many good things that we will hopefully find out.
Okay, very good. So you mentioned franchising as an obviously potential growth option.
Yeah.
What does the future hold? What are you thinking in terms of growth, like number of sites per year and kind of end goal or vision?
Yeah, and that's a very good but very hard question to answer.
Yeah.
I believe in franchising because it can create huge growth. If business model is good, if return on investment for franchisees is good, word will quickly spread out. Also, obviously, selling master franchises to other countries, it would be great. So I do believe that it's a good model. I think it's very clear that those companies are the biggest ones in our industry. But speaking about exact number of sites, it's a very hard thing to do, especially when COVID basically postponed our second site opening and everything. So I'm already wrong there. I believe that we need to open 3 or 4 units before we can start franchising. So we are now working on that. On that plan. But I'm just thinking like what should I mention or not. But basically, while this lease moratorium is in place, it's a bit hard to get new locations. So that's the feedback that we got from all agents. There aren't too many locations coming by, and also for those that do, the landlords usually want bigger chains, which is absolutely understandable. If I could have Starbucks in my unit, I would do the same, right? So it's not great timing for someone who has one restaurant, but we are working towards that goal. And when we prove that Japes is not successful because of Dean Street, where that it can work in other areas as well, then we'll be ready to franchise. Okay. So I think it's more about proving the concept itself than about further optimization.
Okay. Makes sense. So it's one step at a time, very consciously and structurally. Yeah. Okay. And in terms of growth, in terms of locations, so obviously you're London, central London at the moment, and potentially second, third site in London as well, I guess.
Absolutely.
Where do you see yourself going from there? Is it kind of UK and then slowly into Europe, or?
I mean, that is the plan. Okay. Although it's not like if someone approached us from the US and said, I don't know, after we open 10 restaurants in UK and then they approach us and say we would like to franchise, obviously we would look into it. So it's not set in stone, but we definitely, I mean, it would be very, very strange opening in other locations before making sure that it works in the UK. Sure. So that's absolutely priority.
Okay, makes sense. Final question. I always ask if you had one piece of advice for somebody, maybe they're in London Business School or studying or just want to start their own venture. So looking back now on your learnings and getting to this successful period that you're at, is there one or maybe 2 things that you focused on in particular at those early stages that really helped you get to where you are? I'm sure there's multiple.
I mean, it's very important question and very important piece of advice for other people. I definitely believe that you need to work hard. That's clear. I feel that people are creating too many excuses, and they take excuses easily, in a sense that it's very normal to create excuses nowadays. As someone who is coming from country that is much less lucky than UK, and people work harder, I feel that if you decide to do something, you should stick to it and you should do your best. And then if it doesn't work, at least you can look at yourself in the mirror and you can say, well, I did my best. Sure. Maybe someone else could have done it, but for me it wasn't the case. Let's move on and let's see what's the next adventure. So have your goals clear, work hard towards them, and be aware of all the things that are happening. If you can improve. If it doesn't work, but never give up easily, and try to be a better version of yourself every day.
Sure, great advice. And again, the athlete mindset as well is very important. Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I think you're set up for massive success, Alex, and I think you've done phenomenally well. So best of luck in the future.
Thanks. All the best.
Thanks very much.